Hello everyone, and welcome back to another session of Dark Souls 2 PvP and another weapon showcase. This time I am using the Watcher Greatsword, which you get at the very end of the game, in the second to last boss fight that you do. Now, this weapon is one that I've been seeing a bit more often recently, and that's honestly kind of a nice thing. It's a very fun weapon to use, it's a good weapon, in fact, and it's nice to see it, thrown in there to add a little more variety. So, getting started. The Watcher Greatsword requires 18 strength and 16 dexterity in order to wield, along with 15 intelligence. It has an E scaling in strength, a D in dexterity, and a B in intelligence. The physical base damage of the weapon is 185, the magic base is 150, and for me, the attack rating with this weapon is 522 with a Ring of Blades. The counter strength of the weapon is 110, poise damage is 35 per hit, and the weight is 7 units. Now, this is a weapon that people recently have been using in a few different ways. Of course, they have the standard version, but also very common is both the magic infused version and a raw infused version, in fact. Now, when you infuse this weapon with magic, your E scaling in strength remains the same. You have a D scaling in dexterity, just like it was, and your B scaling in intelligence also stays the same. I believe it becomes a higher tiered B scaling, but that's really it. So your base damages, they change as well, of course. Your physical base drops down to 147, your magic base bumps up to 179, and honestly, it doesn't offer you terribly much in terms of a benefit from infusing it. The main reason to infuse it with magic would be for when you're doing your L2 buff, because then you'll get more of a benefit from the buff. Now, when you infuse this weapon with raw, your E scaling in strength stays, your D scaling in dexterity drops down to an E, and your B scaling in intelligence drops down to a C. But your physical base damage and your magic base also go up, and by a decent amount. The physical base goes up to 212, and the magic base goes up to 172, so that makes this a very good choice for a weapon to infuse with raw. The minimum stats for it are relatively low, and, even though it's a bit of a wide spread for the stat investment, it's not terribly high in anything, so it makes for a good option. It makes for a very nice option. So I would say that the biggest pro of this weapon would probably be the fact that it's got very, very low stamina drain. So it's more comparable to most straight swords than most great swords, in fact. That's how low it is, and that's a good thing. That means you can do a lot of attacks, you can do some really nice combos, and you won't run out of stamina for a while. So there's that. Other pros, I'd say the moveset. Your damage is also very good, and that's really, everything that you need. Damage, low stamina drain, moveset, combos, self-buffing. I mean, how can you go wrong? Now, the cons of the weapon, I would have to say that the biggest con would probably be the durability. So, when you do the self-buff, you do use some of your durability. It is consumed for the sake of the buff. And I believe you can do the buff 6 times, if I recall correctly. So, yes, using the buff will drain your durability. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. The other cons that I can think of for this weapon, I would say that it's a wide spread for the stat investment, but, it's really not that big of a deal if you're on an intelligence build, because if you're on an intelligence build, chances are you're going to have 18 strength and 16 dexterity, because that's just the way a lot of weapons are. Those are common requirements. So, it's not a huge deal in my opinion, but it is what it is. Either way, very good weapon, fun to use. I typically don't care much for greatswords, but this one I did seem to enjoy a little bit. Don't know what it was about it, but I don't know. I just like the way it looks, I guess. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know why I said episode. Been doing too many Isaac recordings, I guess. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful in one way or another, and I will see you next time.